Good day, everyone. Today we are discussing the motion cancel culture is a necessary tool for social accountability, particularly in the context of public figures and social media. Cancel culture refers to collective action of withdrawing public support from individuals or organizations after they engage in harmful, unethical, or irresponsible behavior. And in this digital era, this often occurs on social media platforms where information spread quickly or public reactions are highly visible. And public figures such as celebrity, influencer, politicians, and corporate leaders hold significant power where they have action in their speech, where they can influence people. But unfortunately, formal systems such as law, institution, or company policies do not always respond effectively, and sometimes victims may ignore and power individuals may avoid accountability. So, from the affirmative perspective, and cancel culture is not about revenge or hatred, but it's about reminding those with powers that their actions have consequences.
I would like to
So,
challenge that perspective by highlighting the negative impact of the cancel culture. Critics
okay,
argue that cancel culture often goes beyond accountability and turns into public shaming and online harassment. According to the article from the Thinkers Sensitive, cancel culture can discourage open discussion and create a climate of fear where people are afraid to express their opinions, ask questions, or make mistakes. Individuals are frequently judged based on the incomplete information or statement or content taken out of context without proper investigation or opportunity for explain. Once public outrage begins, apologies or clarification are often ignored and the damage is already done. This can seriously affect the mental health, damage the career, and permanently harm reputation. Instead of encouraging learning and improvement, cancel culture promotes punishment and silence. Accountability should help people understand their mistakes and grow, not create fear and permanent exclusion. This reason, cancel culture often causes more harm than good in achieving true social accountability.
I understand the concerns raised by the opposition, but it is important to consider why cancel culture has become so prominent in modern society. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, cancel culture can function as a modern form of social accountability, particularly when formal systems fail to respond effectively to harmful behavior. It allows marginalized voice to be heard and applies public pressure in situations where powerful individuals might otherwise avoid consequences. For many years, people with fame, wealth, or influence were protected even when they engaged in serious misconduct, such as discrimination, harassment, or abuse of power. Victims often struggled to gain attention through legal or institutional channels. Social media pressure has forced companies, brands, and organizations to respond when they previously remained silent. This is not about canceling someone for a single mistake or misunderstanding. In most cases, it involves repeated harmful behavior or a refusal to take responsibility. In such situation, cancel culture becomes a necessary tool to demand accountability, protect vulnerable groups, and reinforce the idea that power should always come with responsibility.
I understand that argument, but I believe cancel culture creates serious long-term problems for society. One major issue is that it often turns into a mob behavior. People join online outrage simply because an issue is trending, not because they have carefully examined the facts or context. Once someone is labeled as cancelled, there is a very little space for explanation, reflection, or personal growth. Even sincerely apologize, frequently dismiss, and past mistakes continue to define individuals permanently. This creates a culture where punishment is prioritized over education. True accountability should encourage people to learn from their mistakes, understand why their actions were harmful, and actively improve their behavior. As a culture, however, often focuses on public humiliation rather than rehabilitation, which does not lead to healthy social change.
all right, that is a fair concern, Afik, and I agree that culture can be misused when emotion take over. However, it is important to separate misuse from its original purpose. Cancel culture has played a significant role in exposing serious wrongdoing such as workplace harassment, discrimination, and abuse of power that were previously ignored. In many cases, companies only investigate and or take action after public backlash becoming visible. Victims often receive attention, support, and validation only because people speak out collectively online. And cancel culture only raise public awareness and force society to confront uncomfortable issues that are often avoided. While it is not about a perfect system, it has encouraged important discussions such as ethics, responsibility, and power. Therefore, the issue may not be cancel culture itself, but how responsibility and fairly it is applied.
That's a good point, Nazia. I also agree that awareness is also important, but the method used to achieve accountability still matter greatly. Cancel culture often ignore the proportionality. A minor mistake can sometimes receive the same level of backlash as a serious offense. Therefore, there is no clear standard to guide judgment, making the system unpredictable and unfair. A true accountability should involve investigation, education, and appropriate consequences. Cancel culture frequently skips these steps and relies heavily on the emotional reaction driven by the social media outrage. When judgment is based on emotion rather than various verified facts, innocent people can be harmed. This weakens trust in public accountability and creates fear rather than misunderstanding. When judgment is based on emotion rather than verified facts, the risk becoming more harmful than helpful in achieving the justice.
That criticism is understandable, Zan, but cancel culture should not be seen as the final judgment on an individual. Instead, it acts as a signal that draws attention to behavior society finds unacceptable. Institutions, employers, and organizations still hold the responsibility to investigate and determine appropriate consequences. In many cases, individuals face cancellation not because of one mistake, but because they deny responsibility, refuse to apologize, or continue harmful behavior despite repeated warnings. Public pressure then becomes necessary to protect social values and vulnerable groups who might otherwise be ignored. Cancel culture helps ensure that power is not abused without consequences. When applied responsibly and supported by proper investigation, cancel culture can complement formal system rather than replace them.
Uh, I would like to raise another important issue, which is fairness consistency. Cancel culture is often applied unevenly. Some public figures are cancelled immediately, while others escape criticism simply because they are more popular, powerful, or supported by strong fan bases. This selective accountability raises serious ethical concerns. When accountability depends on public outrage rather than clear principle, it risks becoming biased. People begin to question whether cancel culture is about justice or about who has more influence online. This inconsistency weakens public trust and damage the credibility of social accountability. If social wants to hold people responsible, it must do so fairly and consistently. Without fairness, cancel culture can feel unjust and emotionally driven which ultimately undermines its original purpose.
That concern about fairness is valid, and I acknowledge the inconsistency exists. However, inconsistency is not unique to cancel culture. Legal system, workplaces, and institutions also struggle with unequal enforcement of rules. Cancel culture reflects broader society inequalities rather than creating them. What cancel culture does provide is a platform for public discussion where formal systems are slow or unwilling to act. It gives people a voice to question powers and demands accountability. Instead of rejecting the cancel culture entirely, we should focus on improving how it practiced. And this includes encouraging fact checking, discouraging harassment, and promoting proportional response. We use responsibility. Cancel culture can raise awareness and support accountability without becoming abusive or unfair.
From our side, our final concern is about the long-term impact of the cancel culture as on society. A culture of fear discourages people from expressing opinion, asking questions, and learning from mistakes. People becoming more focused on avoiding backlash than engaging in honest discussion. Accountability should aim to correct behavior, not permanently silence individuals. Society benefits more when people are educated, guided, and allowed to grow rather than being publicly punished forever. When fear replaces dialogue, social progress will slow down. Instead of promoting understanding, cancel culture can deepen the division and resentment. This is why I believe cancel culture, as it currently operates, causes more harm than good in the long run.
I respect that concern, Zan, and I agree that accountability should allow room for growth and redemption. However, we must recognize that some public figures repeatedly cause harm and refuse to take responsibility. In such cases, society needs a strong and visible response. Cancel culture sends a clear message to harmful behavior will not be tolerated, regardless of status or popularity. It helps protect vulnerable groups and reinforce shared social values. When used carefully and responsibly, cancel culture reminds those in power that influence comes with responsibility. And it is not about destroying lives, but about setting boundaries. While imperfect, cancel culture remains a necessary tool in certain situations.
Okay, so from my point of view, this discussion show that cancel culture is not perfect, but it has played a role in highlighting injustice and demanding responsibility.
For me, I also agree that accountability matter, but it must be fair, proportionate, and not driven by fear or outrage.
That's true. Power should always come with responsibility, especially in the public eye.
Yeah, and how we enforce that responsibility matters just as much as the intention behind it.
So this discussion reminds us that cancel culture is really complex, and by understanding different perspectives, we can work forward more balanced and responsible forms of accountability. Such a nice discussion. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.